one of the biggest things is networking. That's where you find your best jobs, because through networking. And then the other piece of advice that I always tell folks is, always be true to yourself. If your values differ from the company that you are looking at, always go with your values. We're all raised in with a good compass, because our mothers raise us well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career Services Presents Inside the Industry Professor Spotlight Series. Today we have with us Dr. Betty Ross of the College of Business. Dr. Ross, do you mind introducing yourself and the classes that you teach?
I would love to. Good morning, everyone. I love teaching anything with numbers. And with Columbia Southern, I teach finance, managerial accounting, accounting 1, accounting 2, as well as strategy. Probably because I have a diverse background and two minors, or I could say 2 majors with my doctorate, finance and management.
Awesome. And you touched on it a little bit. You talked about, the diverse background that you have. So do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience?
Absolutely. When I was in college, and I actually went to the University of West Florida in Pensacola, and I couldn't figure out what major I wanted to major in. So I kind of hopped around. I think we all do when we're young. I was in accounting. I was in, it was called personnel management back then, but now it's HR. And then ended up with just majoring in management, but I didn't graduate from there because I ended up getting married. But my work experience from there, when I was a junior in college, I started working for Digital Systems of Florida in Pensacola. And I taught CPAs client accounting on the digital system computers. That's way back in the 70s. And then from there, I did some work with Ernst & Winnie in their tax department. Love taxes. A little different now, because back then we did everything by hand. There was no such thing as a computer. I mean, there were computers, but we didn't do computerized financial statements or tax returns. And took some time off. And what I did is I had 4 children. And during that time, I was the program director and ran a martial arts school for many years, and still to this day continue in my martial arts background. And decided to go back to school and finish my degree, and majored in business and continued on with my master's degree. And it was during that time when I earned my master's degree that I was encouraged to teach a class, because they didn't have a teacher, an instructor for an introduction to finance course at a junior college. So I said, all right, well, I don't know how well I'll do, but I have 4 kids and I've taught plenty of martial arts classes. I can do this. A little nervous. So that was my first encounter with teaching. I've been teaching for Columbia Southern as an adjunct. I think it's been since 2010. I think it's been since 2010. And what I did is I taught part-time, but I was also the executive director of the Small Business Development Center in Durango, Colorado. And loved that job, but spent a lot of time on the road. And so During this time, though, I went full-time with Columbia Southern. I believe it was in 2000 and I want to say either 18 or 19. I feel like I've been with Columbia Southern for so long, the dates kind of merge. I feel like I've been fully integrated. I love Columbia Southern. Probably that's why I'm still here. I enjoy the students. I enjoy sharing my story because, you know, I came from a family with 8 children, never thought I would go to college, never thought I would excel this far in life because we just didn't have the opportunity back then, of course, with 8 kids. So anyway, I think that's why I relate so well to those students who say, I don't know what I'm doing this for, you know. But truly enjoy it. But again, here I am still teaching and still training in martial arts. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Wow. So you certainly do have a very diverse background and the experience that you bring to the table. In regards to some special skills, what would you recommend as special skills that students should have if they're wanting to go into something like accounting or finance or even just business?
Well, one of the first things that I would have to say is that they really have to enjoy it. And I know that there are times, as in any career, that it will be challenging, but you have to work through the challenges. And one of the things that I always tell the students is if you get frustrated and things aren't sinking in, just walk away from it for just a moment, maybe 40 minutes or so, and come back with a fresh perspective. But I think it's important that if you're going into business to be able to understand numbers. I think that's, you know, accounting is, the pure accounting is a little bit different than financial accounting because financial accounting is more for managers. But if you can read a financial statement and understand those numbers, I think that is so important. But the other thing is you have to work through the challenges and not give up.
Certainly, that's awesome advice, working through those challenges. You kind of touched on this earlier also, but did you always see yourself in this industry, or was there ever a dream job that you just wished you had, or anything that you wish you had maybe done differently?
Well, doing things differently, I probably wouldn't have the life I have today or my 4 grown children that I absolutely love and my husband. But I will admit that when I was a junior in college at the University of West Florida in Pensacola, there was a recruiter from the Houston Police Department, and I signed up and I was going to leave to join I would have been the first woman police officer. My dream has always been to be a police officer and a detective. And I've trained police officers in martial arts, and my husband was a former sheriff, so I kind of achieved my dream through someone else. But yeah, I never thought I would see myself sitting in this industry. I truly wanted to be a police officer, but my grandmother wouldn't let me go. Because she was in Texas. This is my dad's mother. She said, a woman shouldn't be a police officer. It's too dangerous in Houston. And it was in the 70s during a lot of different time back then. So kind of different.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, you definitely work your way up, through the rankings and just many different opportunities that you've had presented to you in the past. Would you say that you've had any mentors along the way, or do you currently still have mentors that you reach out to?
I do have a mentor, and in fact, this person, when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, he was my strategy instructor. I actually had him for 2 courses. One was strategy and the other one was international strategy. And he encouraged me to continue on with my master's degree. And I'm still in touch with him all these years. A very wonderful person. And one of the things that he did is he recommended me for as a doctoral candidate as well. And so, I have to be thankful for him for everything that he's, because he knew more about my capability than I knew, which, I think sometimes what we do is we discount what we have. But that's why it's so important to have mentors who give us, and I still use this term, Monday motivators. He would always send me a Monday motivator message. This is his 3M statement, Monday motivator message. And he would constantly encourage me. And he was also the chair of my dissertation. And so I have him to thank for, and I'm really grateful. He is the one mentor that I can think of, but there were numerous others along the way that kind of gave you little seeds of encouragement, and I can't, forget all of those folks as well. So, too many to count.
And that's awesome. It's always best to have, a diverse group of mentors, even in the industry that you're in, and also some that are outside the industry, to just give you that encouragement. You mentioned earlier about students working through challenges on their jobs. So would you say what has been the most challenging aspect of your career path so far?
Well, I must admit that I never expected or even applied to be a CEO. All right. Never in my wildest dreams. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Well, I don't know if you want to call it the right place, the right time. From my perspective, I was just like, oh my gosh. And it is challenging when you're in charge of a large company with 5,500 shareholders, and you have 5 subsidiaries, and it's difficult to sleep at night because you're always worried if you're doing the right thing. But one of the things that I did is I always relied on the numbers. That's why I gravitate towards the numbers, is because it's easy for somebody to turn the numbers around, but if you look at the true numbers, they can't be skewed. So I would always review the numbers, but still they say that you have this gut feeling sense, and I would always, if I had this little sense in my gut, I would always look at something a little closer, and sometimes it came out okay, and sometimes, it wasn't. And if it doesn't come out, one of the things that I've learned is that nothing is written in stone. You can always make another decision to overturn the other decision that you made that went down the wrong path. And so, and the other thing that I love to help people, but there comes a time when you say, all right, I think I've reached the end here. And you need to know when to gracefully bow out. And so I always say, a lady always knows when it's time to leave. That's one thing about women, is that I can say that.
That's a very true statement. I can attest to that. What is a piece of lasting advice that you would give to our students and alumni who want to go into like finance and accounting or business? Something that you would tell them that can give them just that piece of encouragement that they might need as they're looking to maybe go into that industry?
Well, if they're looking to go into the industry, one of the first things I always highly recommend, and I recommend this to students even before they consider going, taking a job somewhere, as I said, volunteer. I think all the positions that I've had and the encounters that I've dealt with, is it all stemmed from my volunteer work. So you want to get a little bit of experience on what you're going to be encountering. Go and say, hey, I can volunteer 1 day a week to do this or to do that, or if somebody is interested in HR and people, I say, go volunteer at the VA hospital. Go volunteer. I mean, you can do things greeting people because you need those interpersonal skills. One of the biggest things is networking. That's where you find your best jobs, because through networking. And then the other piece of advice that I always tell folks is, always be true to yourself. If your values differ from the company that you are looking at, always go with your values. We're all raised with a good compass. Because our mothers raise us well. I'm a true believer in mothers, and it's always best to be honest. If you don't know something, or you're not sure about something, reach out and just say, hey, look, I really don't know. I don't know if this job is going to, be the right thing for me, but there's always that 90-day trial period. I took a job once and it was only for 90 days. And I said, it's just not my cup of tea and it's not really working out. And there are no hard feelings because I was honest with them. So, and I think that's important for anybody who's going into any business or industry, no matter what career path you decide to take. So that is it.
Definitely some great advice about being honest in those values. And I'd just like to say that we value you here at Columbia Southern University as one of our faculty. And I just so thank you for your time today and getting to speak with me and answer a few questions for me.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Chastity. This has been a true blessing and a treat for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.